Alright, so this is part 2 of this discussion about fouls, and I want to dive into the topic a bit more of incidental contact in this section, but before I do that, I want to at least briefly present this little comment in the rules from section 16H, which says, for fouls, it is the responsibility of all players to avoid contact in every way possible. This is one of the things I think is great about the sport of Ultimate. You don't beat your opponent by shoving them around or what have you. You just win by getting to the frisbee before they can, which is a lot more fun in my humble opinion. Okay, so that's that. Like I said, I want to dive into the topic of incidental contact, which we covered briefly in the previous video. This is contact between opposing players that does not affect continued play. I want to show a video about where this is relevant and then come back to this slide in a second once that's done. So this is a game from a couple weeks ago between Team Alberta in dark and Team Columbia in white. Ty is going to make a throw over here to Bobby, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, hopefully you all saw that. Basically, there was a long throw from Bobby. Adriana was trying to chase it down in the end zone. And as she's about to make a bid on it here, John Ma comes from over on the right-hand side of the field and tries to avoid contact, but unfortunately trips her as she's going for the disc. He stays on his feet and winds up with the disc in his hands. Adriana winds up flat on her stomach in the end zone. So how disappointing is that? Okay, so the way this continues, well, John actually tosses the disc over there. I think you could maybe make an argument that John had a turnover there, but he goes over to make sure Adriana's okay, which is a nice guy thing to do. Turns out she's okay, but she never actually makes a foul call. There's some heckling over there from the sidelines. John goes over and picks it back up, and then they have a discussion about it for a while. He doesn't know what to do because I think he doesn't really want to keep the disc. But since she didn't call a foul, he does. So if we go back to the rules, this is a situation I've been in before, and I haven't entirely been sure about what to do or not to do in this case. Is this a foul or not? I think if you go back to the rules and look at this definition of incidental contact, what we saw in the video was clearly unintentional contact. John didn't mean to trip up Adriana. But I don't think it qualifies as incidental contact. The way you might see in the NFL or something like that. So incidental contact, the definition is contact between opposing players that does not affect continued play. So, for example, contact affects continued play if the contact knocks a player off balance and interferes with his or her ability to continue cutting or playing defense. So this is clearly contact which knocked a player off balance. In fact, knocked them completely down. So this would, in my opinion here, qualify as a foul. We can also go back to the definition or the consequences of receiving fouls in particular. So this comes from section 16H3B, part 1, receiving fouls. If a player contacts an opponent while the disc is in the air and thereby interferes with that opponent's attempt to make a play on the disc, that player has committed a receiving foul. Some amount of incidental contact before, during, or immediately after the attempt often is unavoidable and is not a foul. So this little disclaimer might be what you'd think in a case like this, but again, it's not about intentional contact, it's about incidental contact. So this wasn't incidental. It affected Adriana's ability to make a catch, so it doesn't count as incidental. It's a foul. There's also a little bit of a section in here about an opponent's attempt to make a play on the disc. If you go through the online rules, it expands on this a bit. It'd be nice to have a slightly clearer definition of this, I think, as well, but what it says is the opponent must at least begin an attempt to make a play on the disc. Adriana was running after the disc here. I think that qualifies enough because she was actually about to make a little bit of a cut to go towards the disc. It also says the opponent's attempt to make a play on the disc includes any second efforts after disc is tipped if the disc has not become uncatchable. So that's another difference from the NFL if you watch professional football as much as I do. But if a disc or a football is tipped in the air, you can do whatever the heck you want to a wide receiver on a football field. But in Ultimate, they still have a chance to make a play on the disc, which I think is fair. So this is a case where I think it should have been called a foul. I want to show one example as well of what I think qualifies as just plain old incidental contact. So I guess Team Columbia is in all these videos, but what are you going to do? This is also Team Alberta in their rematch, so they're in opposite colors. Ray's going to go pick up the disc here and throw one of his trademark full length of the field hammers. And then Alex and Tierney go after it, but Tierney makes it deep. So we can watch this. It'll be easier if I slow it down. This is, I think, incidental contact. So they're both trying to get to the disc. There's a little bit of, trying to get position, pushing each other a little bit, but not really knocking anybody off balance. And eventually Tierney gets to the disc first. This is just incidental contact. It's not a foul because they both had basically the same ability as they would have to make a play on the disc had nothing else gone on. Okay, hopefully that clarifies that, and that is otherwise it for this week's episode. See you guys next week.